Right now, I wake up with dreams about things of the past. Distant memory is much better than what did I do 10 minutes ago.
Over the last 3 years, there has been a significant change. I need to learn a lot more because I fear every step of the way.
A little bit scared and a little bit worried all the time because it's the unknown. How's this story going to end?
At least half of us already know someone with Alzheimer's disease, and in the next decade, twice as many Minnesotans will be diagnosed with it. We're dedicating this program to the journey of one Twin Cities family. If you have a question along the way, just pick up your device and you can ask me on Facebook. We are streaming the show there as well. 3 years ago, retired physician Paul Quinn and his wife Peg invited photojournalist Tom Avilas and me to share their story. Now at 79 years old, Quinn has what doctors consider to be the earliest detectable stage of Alzheimer's, a disease that slowly destroys memory and thinking skills. From doctor's visits to difficult family decisions, we begin by introducing you to a man who helped countless others heal, now facing a reality he always feared.
He's faced many things in his life, but this journey that we're on now is the toughest thing that he will have to face.
His smarts are envied, his story exceptional.
He was bright with a good sense of humor and very good looking.
We first met Peg and Paul Quinn in January of 2015.
She had a good sense of humor.
What about the bright part?
That sense of humor essential to their 50 years of marriage.
Speaks for itself. Sometimes a little too much, but...
Paul grew up on the East Coast.
He was from New Jersey. He's Irish Catholic. His upbringing was very, very important to him.
His 3 daughters witnesses to their dad's relentless work ethic and wide-ranging curiosity.
He was always learning, curious about people. He's curious about trying new things. One of the smartest people I've ever met.
There's no doubt about that.
Paul graduated from Notre Dame, went to medical school at the University of Michigan, and became a family physician at Stillwater Medical Group. At the same time, he rose through the Navy ranks to the highest position of admiral.
Life is good.
Paul's past is especially important.
How are you?
When you get a glimpse of his future.
Meadow, tree, palace.
Great. Now tell me all the words that you can remember.
Palace, gate.
Paul first noticed memory problems as far back as 2010.
Everybody's experiencing it to a certain extent, and the question is what you're experiencing different than the average?
The next letter is the letter T.
3 years would pass before a diagnosis in 2013.
Tatter.
Mild cognitive impairment. The early stages of Alzheimer's.
That's it.
Clearly the cognition is getting worse. However, his everyday function is relatively intact.
There we go.
Half the people with mild cognitive impairment will develop Alzheimer's or another type of dementia within 5 years.
How's your memory these days?
Dr. Michael Rosenblum is the clinical director of Health Partners Center for Memory and Aging. He's noticed Paul's disease hasn't developed as quickly as other patients.
And I think this has to do with his cognitive reserve. He's a very intelligent man. Sometimes with these patients, you have this sense of denial. But Paul is very quick to say, you know what, my memory's impaired.
Paul's love for his field motivated him to do more in the fight. Since there's no medication to treat or cure his disease, he's part of a drug study to find one.
I'm hopeful that the trial I'm in will make a difference. If not for me, for other people.
Quinn family get-togethers are filled with the chaos of 12 grandkids.
It's best to observe, not to participate. It's safer.
It's when we see how subtle reminders of Paul's struggle
They put her on, I just block it on the turn.
are felt by them all.
Sometimes he kind of forgets who I am.
It kind of worries me because I do know that it will get worse over time.
2 months after we first met Paul, he's having trouble remembering his grandkids' names.
In a situation where, who is this, who is that? And then I'm scrambling and not coming up with anything.
His honesty has to do with what he's already been through.
My mother developed Alzheimer's.
Several family members have shared the same fate. Family history does play a role. Doctors have determined the risk for developing Alzheimer's increases if more than one person has had it in a family. But age is the biggest factor of all. After turning 65, the likelihood of developing the disease doubles every 5 years.
I had a hard-boiled egg, and Sikorsky was next to us, and we just kept talking.
2 years into his diagnosis, and Paul still has a remarkable long-term memory. Doctors consider it a common misconception. While patients are losing their short-term memory, their long-term memory becomes more prominent.
Distant memory is much better than what did I do 10 minutes ago.
They came to one of my daughter's hockey games, and he must have asked 10 times who they were playing. And Mom looked at me and she said, "This is my day." Yeah. All day, every day.
How have things been?
It's why doctors often glean the most insight from a patient's caregiver.
I would say we're at kind of a tipping point.
To see how a person is progressing.
I need to learn a lot more because I fear every step of the way.
The hardest part in the whole thing is I think it's seeing her. Because the nice part about Alzheimer's is he doesn't really know how bad he is.
The Quinns want to share their story to remind others they are not in this alone. A candid approach to their new reality, clear in even the smallest of voices.
I hope that it doesn't get really bad so that he starts forgetting us.
It's certainly easy to see the profound impact this diagnosis has on a patient and their family. Doctors say being proactive about a diagnosis is extremely important. An honest assessment allows the person time to plan for the future. And there are a lot of resources available to help, including the Alzheimer's Association Minnesota North Dakota chapter. And Linda Lawrenson is the Chief Strategy Officer. Linda, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
I know there were a lot of resources, speaking of, available today at this Meeting of the Minds conference that you guys have done for years now.
It's a unique conference in that half of the people who attend the conference are people with dementia and their care partners, and the other half are people who are working in the field. So it's an opportunity for everyone to come together to learn more about Alzheimer's and other dementias.
And I know a lot of the focus is on the future of this disease, and some of those numbers are really just staggering to hear.
92,000 people in Minnesota are estimated to have dementia right now. And age is the greatest risk factor, and so as our population is aging, when people reach 85, they have a 1 in 3 chance of developing Alzheimer's. Nationwide, every 66 seconds, someone develops the disease. It's mind-boggling.
If a family is wondering about their loved one, what are some of the signs and symptoms that we should be on the lookout for?
Right. And I think the first thing people should do is they should go to our website. And on our website, alz.org, there are 10 different signs that they distinguish between a warning sign for getting something checked out with your physician versus normal aging. So let's use the example of memory. So if someone has a tendency towards Alzheimer's, they really have trouble with short-term memory. So they might ask you a question, and then they'll ask you the same question in 2 minutes, in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes. They really can't remember. Whereas normal aging, you and I might forget maybe someone's name or an appointment, but we're always able to retrace and remember that later.
And also one of the few places in the country developing new treatments for dementia and Alzheimer's is the Health Partners Neuroscience Center in St. Paul. And I know the Alzheimer's Association works closely with many doctors there.
We do. In fact, Dr. Mike Rosenblum, who is their medical director, is also the chair of our Medical and Scientific Advisory Council at the Alzheimer's Association.
And also Paul Quinn's doctor.
That's right. In addition, we provide a social worker from the Alzheimer's Association to be embedded in their clinic, in their memory clinic.
And technology is making it easier for us now to understand what someone with Alzheimer's disease or memory loss is going through. Recently, this past fall, we went through this virtual dementia tour with 2 of Paul Quinn's daughters, and they also saw what it's like to live with dementia. These were special gloves, glasses, feet inserts. Really, for the first time, I realized this isn't just a brain disease. It does affect the whole body, and you also offer a virtual brain tour, I know, on your website.
We do. So at alz.org, you can go and take a virtual brain tour, and so it will educate you in the different parts of the brain that are affected by Alzheimer's.
How important do you feel it is, Linda, that the Quinns are sharing this story and we are seeing this kind of behind the scenes and this candid approach to the disease?
It is taking away stigma. It's raising awareness for the disease. He is doing more for getting the word out than anyone else. And he's in a very vulnerable, tender time, and he's allowing that to be really journaled.
Linda Lawrenson from the Alzheimer's Association, thanks again for being here. Well, the fight against Alzheimer's is often fought in pairs. Paul's wife, Peg, is his constant caregiver, but this role comes with its own struggles. Her side of the story is next.